Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Andy Curry. Welcome to the show today. I am excited because I have on the line Shirley Weis. She has been speaking professionally for 20 years. The content she speaks on is really interesting. The first topic is accountable care organizations, and the second topic is the importance of collaborative leadership. I'm excited to hear about this. Shirley speaks in the U.S. and internationally. She is based out of Arizona. She has written a book that is on Amazon, is a bestseller. It's called Playing to Win in Business. So Shirley, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're very happy to have you with us. Shirley, tell us about your speaking business. Who are you talking to? What are you teaching them, and how are you helping them?
Well, I have really enjoyed the speaking I've been doing here. I did a lot of speaking in my professional life when I was the Chief Administrative Officer for the Mayo Clinic health system. And so I have a fair amount of experience and background in healthcare leadership topics. And you mentioned I speak now about accountable care organizations, which are really the new entities that are resulting from healthcare reform, where you see the physicians, the hospitals, and the payers working more closely together. So I talk about what it takes to be successful in this new world of healthcare reform. And with that, I also talk about collaborative leadership, because the whole idea of the old-time command and control, I'm the boss, do what I tell you, I think those days are really come and gone, particularly in healthcare, but probably in all industries, because people really want to be engaged, they want to be involved, they want to have a say and feel like they're listened to by their leaders. So the importance of collaborative leadership is another one of the professional topics that I speak on. So those are kind of the two aspects of healthcare that I speak to. I also have kind of a labor of love. You mentioned the new book I wrote called Playing to Win in Business. It's the result of my personal experience as I was retiring from my role at Mayo Clinic and looking to do more speaking. Many people said, Shirley, how'd you do it? How'd you go from being a nurse's aide to being the head of Mayo Clinic? And so from that, I decided to write this book where I share my tips about what it takes to play and win in the business world.
You know, that's an enormous achievement, a nurse's aide to running the place. What kind of a time frame did that take?
Well, I started out in healthcare in the days when women really had just a handful of choices, or the traditional women's choices were teacher, secretary, nurse, or homemaker. So I started as a registered nurse back, almost 40 years ago now, and was in emergency medicine for several years and became a manager of an emergency department and got my master's degree in business. And after that, looked at the new world at that time, which was this new health maintenance organization activity. So from there, I entered the HMO world and did that for 6 years and was the chief operating officer for a big health maintenance organization in the Blue Cross system. And from there, about 20 years ago, is when Mayo Clinic recruited me to head up all their health plans. And so over that time at Mayo, I had a number of positions, including working as the leader of the administrative group in the Arizona operation, and then was asked to be the chief administrator, as I said, the top non-physician position at Mayo Clinic, and was in that role for about 7 years. So it took a while, and one of the things I talk about in the book is the whole issue of grit and perseverance, of really knowing yourself and understanding what you want out of life, and then being willing to put in the work to make that happen. So that's part of what I talk about as I do presentations about playing to win.
Interesting. Well, 7 years, I can't imagine what a stressful position that had to have been.
It was. There were a lot of changes going on, and as you know, healthcare itself has changed. Mayo Clinic is a huge operation. It's about a $10 billion corporation now with operations across the country and the world, and had about 60,000 employees at that time. So very busy, but it was a wonderful role, and it allowed me to, I think, make some contributions back to healthcare and to feel that I was making a difference in the world.
Let's talk about one of your topics, importance of collaborative leadership. That's based out of what you learned from working there as well, correct?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, Mayo Clinic has been around for a long time, as I mentioned, 150 years, and during that time, what the group identified is it's a physician group practice, and Mayo Clinic is named for Mayo brothers and the Mayo father who started it. But they learned very early on that as physicians, they were trained in healthcare, in the care delivery side of things, and in research and education. But they understood early on that they needed to have a business manager, someone who could run the business. And so from the very early days of Mayo Clinic, they engaged in collaborative leadership, where there was the physician leader with a matching administrative or business leader, which that person would be overseeing the finance and the marketing and human resources and nowadays information technology and such. So from that, I had always believed in collaborative leadership from my days back in the emergency department, where it was working very closely with physicians and technology people and all the various therapists that are involved in patient care, but understanding that if you want to get the best from people, you need to show them respect, and you need to collaborate with them. And as I mentioned, my next book actually is about the concept of what I call just respect. And what I mean by that is kind of like Nike's Just Do It, just respect. And that is related to the fact that most people, I think, believe that they're respectful, but it's such a basic human need that not only do you have to kind of think about it and have it in your heart that you're respectful, but you have to do it. You have to demonstrate respect and regard for the other individuals in your world if you want to be successful. So just respect, and that leads to this whole idea of collaboration, of sharing and treating people like valued partners and human resources to you so that you can be more effective in whatever kind of business you're involved in.
Well, I'm curious. It sounds like you either saw a big lack of it or you saw how important it was and how well it worked, and you decided to work on that concept. Which was it?
Well, actually, a little bit of both. Again, having been in healthcare my whole career, I saw the best case where people worked together well as a team and understood the importance of each person's contributions. But I've also seen situations where that's not the case. And in fact, if you study healthcare, one of the places that the biggest issues come in when mistakes occur, if you go to the root cause of why a patient has a bad experience or there's a mistake made in the operating room, for instance, it comes down to communication. That's the number one driver for mistakes in healthcare. And that communication often is impacted by people having bad experiences or feeling that they can't speak up or feeling that they've been treated poorly themselves. And so whether you're in the healthcare arena, many of us fly, and you've probably seen situations in the airline business, at hotels, in the grocery store, but I can tell immediately how the employees are treated, because the employees and their relationship with their bosses sets the tone for how those people will treat the customers. And so my sense is that if you don't treat your employees right, if you don't treat them as valued colleagues, if you don't respect them, it's very difficult for them to in turn pass it on to the customer and have the customer have a good experience. So that whole sense of not only preventing mistakes and having things not go well for a customer, but also having the customer be delighted with an outstanding experience is rooted in this concept of just respect and collaborative leadership.
How long have you been out of the Mayo Clinic?
Oh, almost 2 years.
Okay. Well, as we said before we were talking, before the interview, I had mentioned to you I had to take my mom there several years ago, and that would have been almost 6 years ago, and you were there running it, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I have to say, it was fantastic when we went. As I mentioned to you, we went to Rochester, stayed at a hotel. You go down underground underneath the street, and you walk in through this tunnel into the Mayo Clinic, and it's like walking into a hotel, which was fabulous in itself. But what really impressed me is when we went to see the doctors, Um, they quickly get you in, which is something we're not used to, I don't think. And then once any tests were done, they were ready the next day. And here I'm in Colorado Springs, which it's a big medical city. I mean, it's big business here, and it takes a long time to get test results back. But there at the Mayo Clinic, boy, it was just the next day. It was fantastic. So, way to go.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you had a good experience.
It was a good experience. I was really happy to take my mom there. So, but anyway, let's talk a little bit about your book, Playing to Win in Business. Tell us some of the big things that really stood out that for you when you wrote that. You know, what really worked for you? What were you passionate about? I mean, you're all passionate about the whole thing, but what things really stand out? Because we don't have a whole lot of time left.
Well, I think the part that stands out for me, and the reason I wrote the book was because I wanted to share some of the things I learned along the way so that others didn't have to reinvent the wheel, if you will. So the book is based on the premise that life is made up of games. And it's one of the things I identified early in my life is that, there's the work game, there's the family game, there's the actual games that you play. I happen to love tennis. And so I really understood early on that if you look at life kind of in a mental model that it's all a game, one of the things you want to understand are what are the rules and how do you play the game? What are the rules regarding the situation that you're in? And I found that to be useful for me throughout my career. Even now, I've gone on several corporate boards, and so as I join the boards, I need to really study and understand what are the rules for this particular industry, for this particular board, how they work and such. Another part of the book that I feel really strongly about is the whole concept of the fact that you need to be an expert in something. And as I talk to women and minorities and others who are trying to really aspire to the highest levels, I always encourage them to find something that you enjoy and be an expert. And if you listen to Malcolm Gladwell, being an expert means that you probably spent about 5 years or so in an area so that you really are seeing and understand the issues that are happening. Because in a situation where there's an emergency or when people are looking to get the job done, they're always looking for the expert. And it doesn't matter what your background, your ethnicity, who you are. If you are seen as an expert, they call you to the table. And that allows you to really make an impact and to be seen as someone that is a valuable asset to your organization. So I think those are a couple of the key points. As I mentioned, I see this whole concept of respect being the secret sauce on top of all of that. You can learn all the rules, you can become an expert, you can manage lots of problems, but how you treat people and how you respect them makes all the difference in the world. And it's been shown many, many times that it isn't always the smartest person that succeeds in life that gets the better job. It's the person that has the expertise, but also can relate well and work well with others in their environments. And so whether I'm speaking to a group of college students, speaking at a employee session, I was just speaking at a planning retreat for one of my boards last week on this topic, just understanding the importance of respect and then applying that in all that you do makes such a difference in your life, and I think it's the key to success.
Did you find doctors had trouble respecting subordinates or not?
Well, I think that, again, people are people, and in every population you'll find people that are respectful and you'll find folks that are not. And I think for physicians particularly and other folks in high-stress roles, sometimes it's difficult to show the respect that you should. I think that it's one of the things that are still being worked on in healthcare, I'm sure, in other industries, trying to have people find a way to not only, again, be experts, but also learn how to manage their emotions, how to get the most out of their teams. And so I was blessed. I worked with a lot of good physicians that showed that kind of respect, and I also worked with others that had a harder time with it. I think sometimes if you grow up in a situation where that kind of behavior is not modeled for you, it's also difficult because we kind of watch and learn from the people around us. And And so I think it's one of the areas that healthcare as an industry is continuing to spend a lot of time on it. They call it the human factors, the human factors that lead to poor outcomes and mistakes in the medical world. And so everyone, I think, as professionals needs to learn how to have that kind of emotional intelligence. And I talk about that in my book also, that it's possibly the hardest thing to manage on any given day in your work life is not what's going on around you, but it's managing yourself. Because if you come forward in a positive, respectful way, it's amazing how that comes back to you. And that's another key aspect of respect, is that what you give is what you get. And the more you give respect, the more it comes back to you day in and day out.
Well, the respect issue is huge in every point in life, for sure. Well, Shirley, how can people get a hold of you should they want to hear you speak or get some more information?
Well, you can reach me on my website. It's Weis, W-E-I-S, just one S, associates.org. And I'd be happy to talk with anyone if they're interested in having me come and visit. As I mentioned, I've spoken to lots of different kinds of groups and certainly enjoy speaking with small groups as well as large groups. My book is available, Playing to Win in Business, on Amazon.com. And again, I'd be happy to share any insights about that with you too. So thank you.
Well, Shirley, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an enormously fascinating topic. It's an honor to speak with someone who ran such a huge company, and again, I appreciate how it was run when I took my mother there, because you guys took great care of her.
Well, great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.